You are listening to Heroes Never Die, your one-stop spot for all the latest news, Overwatch League results, and mishaps in Overwatch. Here are your hosts, Totemly Drunk and Edinar.
What is up, guys, and welcome back to Heroes Never Die, your one-stop spot for all things Overwatch. I am your host, Totally Drunk, and tonight on episode 167, we'll be taking a look at the latest in Overwatch esports, see what's buzzing within the game's community, and so much more. Before we can jump into the news and introduce you to my co-host, let me just take a moment to thank everyone who is hanging out with us tonight on Twitch for our live show, and of course to thank all of our repeat listeners out there. So joining me tonight, as always, is my co-host Edinar. And Ed, there's a lot to be excited about outside of Overwatch. We just had the new Spider-Man movie came out that we both saw, that we both were thrilled about. We have Stranger Things Season 3 dropping at midnight, which I can't wait. We also have Midsummer that also came out. I can't wait to go see that on Friday to see if that's going to be as much of a mind F as Hereditary was. But, you know, there's also been a lot of interesting things going on, of course. We're seeing the meta continue to evolve as Stage 3 progresses. We have 6 of the 8 teams for the Stage playoffs locked down, with 2 still technically up for grabs, but it's a pretty easy condition for both teams that are still currently in that position right now. But we have a homestand coming up, for better or worse in some cases. But how has this past week been treating you?
You know, it's been good. Yeah, like you said, the Spider-Man movie came out, and I was not expecting to love it as much as I did. I'll just say this. Top 3 non-Avengers MCU movie, period. Like, it's not Civil War, Winter Soldier 1, and, like, this and Ragnarok are 2 and 3 for me. It was that good. So definitely go watch it. I have never seen an episode of Stranger Things. I know, judge me, but I have zero interest in Stranger Things. But it's also the 4th of July weekend coming up. Mm-hmm. So I have that to look forward to, because I will be partaking in many of beverages and boating all weekend. Still playing, 8.2 dropped for Warcraft. That's been a thing. We'll go with that. But as far as Overwatch goes, it was kind of a humdrum week. Nothing too crazy, but we basically got all of our playoffs teams set. I think all 8 are set at this point, right?
Well, it's 6 of the 8. Like, you have New York Excelsior, who are still at 5 wins, who are technically in first, but, like, they just need to, not win a map.
You know what was crazy is they were going through, if I know the Titans this week won and beat the Gladiators, but it was crazy because they're like, well, these 4 things have to happen, and Vancouver could have missed the playoffs.
Right.
And it was very realistic. Like, Outlaws have to win one of the 2 games next week. Charge have to win 2 games, and New York had to win 1 game. And it's like, and then the Vancouver Titans could have been out. I'm like, wait, what? That's kind of how crazy it's been this stage. You have, like, we talked always about how 4 wins will generally get you in.
Not this stage.
4 wins will not get you in. You have to have 5 no matter what. A 4-win team is not going to get in. The Gladiators, I think, can't really get in. Oh, no, they still could, but the Shanghai Dragons have to really tank this week. So, some good matches this last week. New season started without much, nothing really posted. I didn't realize...
That's kind of, been the norm. It's like, hey, there's a new season.
I just logged on, and it's like, season ends in 48 hours. I'm like, I would have liked to have known about this prior to 2 days before the end. So, that happened. So, I don't know. Outside of Stranger Things, Spider-Man, have you had a good week?
Yes and no. I mean, obviously, like working in retail, in produce, like this week is hell. It's like our busiest week. So I mean that's been the thing.
Really? Like, all right, in produce, I could
Yes.
see like in like the meat department.
Okay,
for
so-
clearing out, but
So we have watermelon for like $2.99 and corn's like 10 for a buck. And people are literally buying a case at a time, and like we're not being able to keep on top of that. And of course, we also have like a lot of the fruit trunks like just flying. A lot of people are coming in to buy like party stuff. Like they're coming in to get like the kebabs and the trays, guac especially, shit like that. But I did start my placements on my main account. By start, I mean I played one because it's been so goddamn humid. Like I've been trying to avoid being upstairs at all costs, which is where I record. So sitting down and talking for 2.5 hours is always great.
you did a placement match without me.
This was on my main account. It wasn't on our duo account.
I hope you lose.
But I played Zenyatta and we won. So
Dang. Oh, fine.
So
I guess I was watching Spider-Man on Tuesday, so I couldn't really do placements with you.
this was on Monday.
Oh, I have trivia Mondays,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, then I was like debating like if I was gonna stream. I was like, I'm gonna be very bitchy if I stream when it's this hot in here. So I'm like, I'll probably just hold off on that, and then I'll just try to find another time to stream. But it's been a good week. And obviously we're gonna plan on doing all the replacements. Hopefully we'll actually knock them all out this time instead of just kind of like starting and then just stopping completely. But there's a lot to be excited about. So let's go ahead and jump into the news from this past week. So we did actually have an interesting tournament with the Twitch Rivals series that they did something really unique. They had like a workshop tournament that pitted some of the popular like Overwatch streamers against one another. And they actually had two of the Overwatch League analysts cast in this tournament, so they had both Bren and Sideshow. So basically what this Rivals tournament involved were like 14 of the different workshop modes. They had things like Gun Game, they had the 10,000 damage free-for-all, they did the Infinity Stones, they had Emote Watch, they had a lot of different varieties, but a lot of them were kind of based in free-for-all. And for the most part, like, this tournament, at least in regards to the battle for the top, was between, like, Iman and Gil Adelaide, who's, been one of the more popular streamers, really, since Overwatch came out. And it was actually Wanted who came out on top when all was said and done. So, Wanted basically came in and he won the final game, which earned him a double first place prize of $800, as well as a $1,000 bonus for having the most game mode wins throughout the tournament. But if you're wondering like who all was involved in this tournament, you had streamers like Aspen, Fitzy was there, they had XQC, CarQ, Fran, Yui, Faria. They had some pretty notable Overwatch streamers in here, and I always find it funny, like, none of the 4 pro players won. They were all kind of like middle of the pack, which was a nice change of pace. But I like seeing these different formats appear in for tournaments, and with how popular the workshop has been as of late, I'm glad to see at least some of the organizers really starting to embrace that, to incorporate that into a tournament format.
Yeah, no, I watched went back and watched a little of it because I didn't watch it live, but it's fun to watch, and having Bren and Sideshow, they're always just fun to listen to. Mm-hmm. They just are. I'm happy XQC didn't win because the guy just annoys the hell out of me. The one person they're missing on this is Darwin. The guy created all the workshop.
He would have an inside advantage.
Yeah, that's fine, because you created it. Like, at least have the guy who creates all the maps you're playing on participate. Or be a part of it in some form or another. Like, have him on the desk with Brennan Sideshow explaining about how he went about making the maps.
Right, and how crazy would it be if, like, they have him make something mid-tournament and then just drop a new mode just to throw in there?
or like he like makes one big change.
Yeah,
to
one key
each
change
map.
before the game starts.
Yep. Just be like, psych.
You thought you knew
Changed
the
it all on
rules.
you. Yeah,
The rules have
that would be fun.
changed.
Look, this Twitch Rivals thing is one of the more brilliant things Twitch has done. Because it's always on, rotating games, and it's always just like they have some serious tournaments. Like I know they do a lot of Apex tournaments,
Right.
but they do a lot of just batshit crazy things too. Like they do some crazy Hearthstone tournaments and crazy Magic the Gathering tournaments. You see Overwatch on there. You see all sorts of games, and they're basically going all day, every day. And they're just having all these little minor tournaments. And like right now, they have Rainbow Six Siege Showdown on their thing, and they get 5,000-6,000 viewers at a time, no matter what's playing. So it's genius. I want to see more of this with Overwatch, and I think workshop mode is the way to go about it. Because you're not going to compete with like 6v6 tournaments or anything like that. Although one thing they could do is team up with Elo Hell and do one of the tournaments they do on Twitch Rivals. That would be pretty cool. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to seeing more of this. And these players are probably pretty happy. They've made like almost $4,000 playing Overwatch workshop mode. That's a pretty decent day, not gonna lie.
Yeah, not bad. More than we're certainly earning when we're streaming.
Yeah.
But you know what?
Why weren't we invited?
You know what would help with that? Just throwing Twitch Prime subs.
Yes.
We're always good for those. So outside of that, of course, we've had some other things happening in game, and something that has popped up here recently because it is kind of like an in-game notification. Is a new window that appears whenever a player has found themselves basically in a game where the system is basically like caught a cheater, essentially. So there seems to be like a new anti-cheat system that has been deployed on live servers, and this is probably like during one of the recent patches that took place. And basically like the pop-up will tell you like, hey, like our system's detected cheating, and a player that has been banned as a result. So like the previous game, whichever was involved, had been canceled, and no win or loss will be recorded for either team. Now, I'm assuming that means you'd also get, your SR back if it, were a loss, which is always feels a good ban, because, some people like to focus on that number quite a bit, some more than others. But, for a long time now, when we look at Overwatch, one of the long-standing issues with the game has been the need to, like, try to stay ahead of the curve when it comes to hackers. And this is a good step towards that. Now, we'll see, like, how often this is going to be appearing. Like, I've only seen, like, a handful, like, at the level that we're at. It's not as common, as opposed to some of the other competitive tiers in-game. But it's always a good feeling when you see, a pop-up notification. Whether it's, you logging in and knowing, like, hey, there's a new event going on. Or, competitive would be a nice one when you log into the game rather than when you click on competitive. Just be like, hey, like, shit's going down or ending here in a day or two. But, they had it primarily before just with the report feature, and now they have one with the anti-cheat system as well.
Yeah, no, this is nice. Now, obviously, where me and you play, we don't see cheaters, because if they actually are cheating, they're much higher than we are. So, like, this isn't as rampant for us, but for a lot of, like, the higher up, a lot of the Twitch streamers, community members, and stuff like that. And this is good, and hopefully, like, that would be huge if they get their SR back. I think that's really the thing that they care the most about is, not the, hey, that loss you had is now null and void, but did you gain your SR back? And then it's the little things you have to take into account, like, it's not going to change, let's say, on Monday you log in and it's like a game from Sunday. Well, that was a different season. So your SR rank is not going to change. Like if you were top 500, you dropped out of top 500 with that, you're not going to move back in type of situation. So it's a step in the right direction. It also is a visual clue to the player base that Overwatch is actually doing something.
Right.
Because before you never knew like what was going on. Like, okay, we reported this person for cheating, or this person's obviously cheating, and then you don't know what's going on after that. Now you actually have visual clue, or like visual something telling you, yes, there was someone cheating in this game. We banned them. We're going to take away this loss from you. We're going to take away this win, so on and so forth. And you actually see what's going on. So that's nice too. It's more of a, because they didn't have to put this thing in there. They could have just, I mean, honestly, if they just took away a win or took away a loss throughout a competitive season, the majority of people wouldn't even realize it, because they're not analyzing their wins losses every moment, between every game. If you're 40-30 and all of a sudden you're 40-29, it's not going to really know. You're not really going to notice it. So, this is nice. You get the visual clues. So good on them. Hopefully, they just keep cracking down on these hackers.
That and, patching API issues. There is also that, so fingers crossed on that. It kind of looks better, but I'm not gonna hold my breath still yet with
Nope.
that, just due to how frequent the issues have been as of late. So outside of that, we also have some new merchandise news. So we got some new Legos coming out this fall, and these ones come out on October 1st. So there are 2 new build-in sets coming out. The first one is a Wrecking Ball set. That one consists of 227 pieces, and of course, you can't have a Wrecking Ball set without the hamster pilot himself, Hammond. And of course, you can see him popping out from the cockpit. So, there's like a little flap there, and, he pops up from there. The other one is of the Junkers, so you have Junkrat and Roadhog. That one is 380 pieces total. So in that one, you kind of have like the Junkertown sign. I know they have like a Pachimari with it as well. That's kind of like in like a displayed diorama. And the thing is, it's like, of course, with Legos, the price variance between these 2 sets is pretty notable. So the smaller one, the Wrecking Ball one, the retail cost is $19.99. And then the Junker one for Junkrat and Roadhog is $49.99. So again, these come out on October 1st, and, I'll be honest, I have not gone out and bought any of the LEGO sets yet. It's not that I have no interest in them, because, even as an adult, we all still play with Legos. But for me, it's more the fact that I know my nephew is collecting these, and normally I'm helping him build them, and, we're expanding our sets from there, so I don't have as much as a need to go out of the way to purchase them myself, when I know that I'll still have access to them, so to speak. But I have been a very big fan of the sets that they have done. But of course, with Legos, you could be spending anywhere from like $20 to, for like, I think the Watchpoint Gibraltar one was like $80. So it's a pretty big variance in regards to the actual cost for these sets. But I'm happy to see another one that is more specific to heroes as opposed to just map ones.
Yeah, that the Hammond one, whatever. Useless. I'm not a fan of it. It's just a ball with a tiny hamster. The Junkrat Roadhog one though is actually awesome. Like, that is one I will end up buying. Yeah, you get the 2 characters sitting in their motorcycle.
Mm-hmm.
On top of the Junkertown sign, you got the Pachimari. You got a lot of things going on with this. It's not just them sitting on a, motorcycle, and you have all these little things here and there sprouting off. It's very in depth, in detail, And it just looks cooler than the Hammond one. Like, plain and simple, it just looks 10 times better. So this is going to be nice. It's going to be good. Again, you have to wait to order it. It's like the running thing with Overwatch and their toys is
unless it's like a T-shirt. It's like T-shirts, so you're good on. Everything else, like, you gotta wait.
Oh, you're gonna have to wait a few months to up to a year and a half for this. But yeah, I mean, this probably falls right in line with other Lego prices. Not basic Legos, but like specific genre. Like, you have the Star Wars, you have Marvel, you have Overwatch. Like the branded Legos probably falls right in line with all of those. So, it's awesome. Look forward to getting it, because the other ones didn't intrigue me as much as this one does.
So with that being said, of course, there has been a lot of talk amongst the community revolving around the Atlanta homestand. And I'll be honest, like, my gut reaction when you kind of, like, look at the Atlanta homestand is just like, okay, this is a thing that we're putting on. Like, I mean, because you basically have, like, New York Excelsior and the Shanghai Dragons. You have 2 playoff teams, and then you have, like, other teams like that are just like, yeah, okay, they're there. But it seems like it's not going to be as competitive. But with that being said, there are 2 primary things that have been heightening the experience and bringing more hype to the event, and that is 1v1. So we actually have 2 that are going to be taking place. So initially they were putting together Bren versus the Fran in a Widowmaker 1v1. And that is not happening primarily due to Reddit, because with Mangachu signed to the Overwatch League, which of course we'll talk about here in a bit, everyone was wanting a Torb 1v1 between Mangachu and the Fran. So that is going to happen on Sunday, and because of that, the Bren Widowmaker 1v1 has been changed from Bren versus the Fran to now Bren versus Baby Bay. Now, and I don't know how much you've been keeping up to date with this. There's been a lot of banter already, both on broadcast and also on social media. So basically, the timeline has been, they were doing like the post game watch point, and Bren was talking about basically like how Baby Bay's been washed up, and Baby Bay was basically like saying like, hey, like, I'm gonna fill in for the Fran shoes, and of course Bren took offense to that, thinking that he was like belittling like the Fran in a way, because he was on the Atlanta Reign, and it got to the point where they ended up getting Baby Bay on the phone during a watch point. So the trash talk kind of continued from there. And Baby Bay ends up just saying, like, you ain't shit, bro, like, during the Twitch stream. which happened. And, he's just saying that he's gonna dominate Bren. And then, Bren did, like, this really weird video on Twitter where he's, like, standing behind the DJ Khaled cutout.
He, like, molested a cutout of DJ Khaled. I'm like, well, this just got real awkward real quick. Like, there's trash talk, and then there's,
Then there's Bren
doing inappropriate things to DJ Khaled cutout. Which, I want to know why he has a DJ Khaled cutout. Like, let's bring that up. Why? Just why?
I feel like the reason behind that is more the fact that a cardboard cutout is less of a liability for the Overwatch League than putting him out to perform.
Yeah, well, you know what? They could have put the cardboard cutout on stage during the finals, and it probably would have gotten a bigger reaction than one guy screaming, and another one, another one. So, yeah, it's great trash talk. Love the trash talk. But yeah, I'll let you continue on with the progressing story.
But yeah, so basically, like, the cutout point was from there. But, like, there's just been a lot of banter between these two. And I have to say, like, Fran is definitely the more notable hit scan player between, him and Baby Bay. But I haven't felt like Baby Bay's really, like, hit that level in regards to hit scan play in the league. But, like, let's be honest here. Like, Bren versus Gesture, like, it was entertaining, but, Gesture, I feel like he's on the gas pedal. I don't think Baby Bay is going to do the same. Baby Bay's just gonna come out and just try to swagger on Bren and just automatically look for the 7-0. But I know Bren's been talking about, like, trying to get, like, a Widowmaker, like, bodysuit, so there's gonna be something. Of course it's Bren, so there's going to be cringe involved. so I don't know where he's going.
I don't want to see Bren bulge this weekend. Like, that is not something I think any of us want to see. Let's be real here.
Mm-hmm.
Keep the Bren bulge.
He also needs to keep his shirt on. That was the other thing.
It's getting too much. He's gonna get destroyed. Like, how many kills did he have against Gesture?
2.
Okay. So he played a main tank and got 2 kills.
Mm-hmm.
He's going up against an actual DPS player. He's not gonna get 1 kill. Unless they do headshots only, and Baby Bay gets a body shot, and Bren happens to get a headshot. That's the only way it's gonna happen. But yeah, it's gonna be a slaughter.
I guess too, like, they were like doing practices between Bren and DeFran, and DeFran was just bodying him. Like, Bren like couldn't even really get out of spawn. So like I'm not really expecting too much of a difference here.
Yeah, I mean, like, you have to expect that from any DPS player in Overwatch League or ex-Overwatch League,
Mm-hmm.
in DeFran's case. Like, your best bet, honestly, for a more entertaining thing is to get a better option would have been Dogman versus Bren. Because Dogman will do the trash talking 10 times better than Baby Bay did, and better than Bren, but at least he has more of a shot against Dogman than Baby Bay. So that would have been a smarter choice, but, they went with Baby Bay for some silly reason. I don't know.
Well, we'll see.
Maybe they're just, maybe he'll waste an ult. Oh, wait, no, that's in the actual games he'll do that.
Or fall off the map. Although that's more of a Dante special.
Ruckus did it too.
He did, which he was just happy that, someone else should join the club. It
was on the same map too.
It's very fitting.
Iceham, I don't think they announced what maps they're going to be fighting on yet, but I mean, I don't know which ones they would choose. Probably the May one. I can't remember the name of it.
The Eco Point Antarctica.
Eco Point Antarctica.
It's probably going to be oh shit. What's the one that they did for the OGE versus Mickey Doomfist one?
Oh god, I don't remember.
I'm really bad at remember the elimination maps just because, like, I haven't really played those ones, but that would probably be on that one if I'm gonna choose any. So of course, outside of that, as I mentioned, we do have the DeFran versus Mangachu Torb battle, and of course, the most notable thing about this is it is hammers only. Which, here's the thing: Torb 1v1s to me are not exciting. As opposed to like a Widowmaker 1v1. So like I don't know how many of these are going to be just like glancing blows with like the hammers. Like it seems like a weird thing, but like at least like the Overwatch League kind of like embraced the community reaction to it, and then it just kind of like sparked from that. But like to me, like, yes, it's great that we have two of the most notable Torbjorn players getting up 1v1 another on the hero, but like it's never a 1v1 battle that I'm like greatly looking forward to. I'm like, oh, there's an enemy Torb, let me try to out-duel him.
Yeah. Like, now, did DeFran ever get an actual hammer kill in the Overwatch League? I can't remember if he did. I think Mangachu has had the first one.
I do not know off the top of my head, and as our Twitch chat pointed out, it's Necropolis was the one I was thinking of, because that one does have a lot of high ground, so I would imagine that the Widow 1v1 will be there.
Yeah, but you know, like you said, it's great in theory until you actually watch it, and then you're gonna be like, all right, this is boring. Like, how many hits, like, will it take?
Yeah, how many melee hits does it take to drop a 200 HP target?
Yeah, exactly. And like, can you get a headshot with a hammer?
I would imagine it's just melee, so no.
So yeah, like, this is gonna be boring. After the first two kills, you're gonna be like, all right, this needs to be over. But they saw they saw, like, I'll give them this. They saw, like, with Mangachu, who's like probably a bigger tour player than Dafran ever was. Like, Mangachu has been known as a tour player since World Cup 2 years ago. You know, I think he got a hammer kill in the World Cup, and people just went nuts. So they saw it. Mangachu's finally up in the Overwatch League.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been better if the Gladiators were playing, because then you could do Surefour versus Mangachu.
Right, who actually just had a hammer kill.
Yeah, and you wouldn't have to be like, hey, person who's no longer in the Overwatch League, come do this event. Like, no. Like, there's Dafran, and people love Dafran, but, like, he retired from the Overwatch League. Why is he still participating in the Overwatch League events?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't get it. But, you know, it will be fun. Those are the two most interesting matchups of the week, because the rest of the matchups suck.
There's, like, a couple that, like, do have some intrigue, but a lot of them are just kind of, like... I'm not really expecting the whole lot. I'm really hoping that it's gonna just surprise the hell out of us, and then next week we can be like, well, that was a lot better than we were expecting. I'm honestly not expecting that, though. So, of course, outside of that, we do have something that we were talking about last night on OWL by the numbers, and this has been something that you and I have been testing here for quite some time now, and that is Daily Fantasy Overwatch League. So, for those that don't know, we did do an interview with the platform's creator, who goes by Fowl. That seems to be a pretty common thing with Fantasy Overwatch League, but that's besides the point. So basically, last night we had an interview with Fowl talking about his background, like how he got started in Fantasy, more about the platform, kind of like the way that he tried to gamify it and have like a level-in experience with like profile levels and portraits and unlockables and things like that, and some other things. So basically, like, how this works is you have the option to join these daily leagues where you piece together a lineup of 6 different players. Now, each player basically has like a contract value that lets you know like how much the player cost is, and between the 6 players you're able to spend up to 100 points for your lineup. Now, right now, I do know you need at least 1 support player, you need at least 2 DPS, 2 tanks, and there is a flex option. So, Ed, I know you and I have been doing this for several weeks now, and for those that go back to listen to the interview, it is worth noting, like, every Sunday night we will have one of the promoted leagues for, like, our OWL by the numbers listener league, and, with only 2 days of games this week, it's gonna be more obvious that we're one of the highlighted leagues, because there's less options overall, so definitely join us every Sunday for that. So it's basically like DraftKings or FanDuel would be probably the other daily fantasy like sports option that a lot of people are probably used to. But definitely go check them out. The website is fantasyowl.com. I know they also do have a Twitter account that they're looking at being pretty active on, and that is at FantasyOWL Live. But sign up, see how you do against us and the other podcasters on our network. I know some of the leagues are going to have prizes as well outside of like the coin system they're using, but we don't know which leagues are going to have those as of yet or how often it's going to happen. But keep an eye because some of them will be prize leagues as well, and potentially money can be involved. So I know you and I are looking forward to that aspect for sure. Even if we do like just side bets between us, which is always fun because I mean. It's daily fantasy. Like, money is always involved.
Yes. And that's that's one of the big things that's a big draw, especially in the time we're in right now with how bad the Blizzard API is. Whereas, like, in regular fantasy, Blizzard API being broke for a day screws your entire week.
Right.
Like, you're done for the entire week because of it. If the Blizzard API screws up in daily, it just screws up the day, and then you have the other 3 days to do it. And I like how they kind of make this. You can play free. You can play, like you said. There's the coin currency. So like you get coins for logging in for a certain number of days, or winning, or they have a whole list of how you can earn these coins, and you can enter into special leagues using those coins. So like you can do anything from 1v1 matches. Like I know Bob out there right now is, in one where you have to pay 100 currency coins to participate, but if you win 200 currency. So you get your 100 back, you get another 100. So it's like you have this little betting system, and hopefully money will be involved in the near future. Which would be cool, but you can also you don't have to rely just on, all public contests. You can make private contests for money. Or not money, but you can make them for money. So definitely go out there, join, go to Fantasy OWL, sign up, super easy. Obviously join our league on Sundays, so you can see how you do against all of us. It's very intriguing on how the currency works. Not the currency, like the dollar amount that they give to each player. Because it's ever changing, really daily. Like what it's going to be up against, and they use an algorithm to adjust that on a day-to-day basis. So like one of the things I noticed is on like Saturday this week, Baby Bay on Saturday is $22 or whatever, 22 points, and then on Sunday he's 20, because on Saturday he's like far and away probably the best fantasy DPS player, but on Sunday they're better, like the matchups are better. So they take matchups into account. They take all that into account, which is actually pretty awesome. So definitely check it out. Have fun. It's my preferred way of doing fantasy Overwatch League at this point. Like plain and simple, it's my preferred way. Little bitter with highnoon.gg right now, but that's a whole different story. I basically only use it now for pick'ems.
Primarily.
Yeah. So definitely come check it out. Listen to OWL by the numbers. Listen to the interview we had with Fowl. Well, they had with Fowl. I was not on last night. I took the night off. So come check it out. It should be some good times.
And join in on the trash talk, which there will be plenty of.
Really? Me? Trash talk?
Just in general.
Never.
It's going to be more so with daily, just because it's going to fluctuate so much at times, too.
Yeah.
But definitely join the league. It's if you go on the site, it's the one that has the Anna background, and it will list, like, hey, this is the OWL by the Numbers Listener League. It's the one on the right. It'll always be on the right, because it's the Sunday League, and, Sunday's the last day. So join that one primarily, and see how you do against our hosts. I'm just looking forward to seeing whether or not I can keep pace with basically how I've been doing with daily fantasy. I know there were a couple of weeks that you missed, and a couple of weeks where we just didn't have enough testers. So I know some of the contests were basically not started just due to insufficient members. But that's not going to be an issue once we get more eyes on the site. And I want to say there's like a max of 100 users like per league. But like for like the 1v1s, you're able to just like have like an open challenge basically, where like anyone can join you, or you could actually directly challenge someone as
So
well.
yeah, if you want to challenge me or Totem or Bob or Randy's, you're more than welcome to just have a 1v1 challenge.
And expect a loss.
Yes, no lose. But the other nice thing is you can have 2 teams like per like big league. So when it's up to 100, you can have 2 teams. So like in our upcoming one on Sunday, I have one safer team and then I have one, flyer team.
Right.
Where I'm taking like I think I took like Saya Player and Mangachu because they were both super cheap. And then I went like I got Dogman and Jonak as my support. So it's a flyer team. So you can do things like that. One save team, one flyer team, and kind of have the best of both worlds.
Right, and you can use the same lineups on different leagues as well for that same day. I know what I'm planning on doing. I don't know if I'm going to actually stick with this, but for this Homestand weekend, I basically did like a countdown team. So like I did a 3 DPS, 2 tank, solo support team, and then I also did one that was 2-2-2. So I'm going to be like experimenting with that to kind of see like what the average differential is between the two, to see if like if like the DPS is scaling better. But for the most part, I've been doing fairly well. But there are some weeks where like I know like during like when we had less eyes on the product. But when like for example when the Dynasty were going through like those changes, I remember at one point after like they played highly for the first time, that next day like I played him and like the contract cost was like 4 points. So it was like high risk, high reward. So like if you played, it was great, but if you didn't, like you could at least alleviate that by having some of the best fantasy performers also on your team to like try to counterbalance that. And there were sometimes when it worked and sometimes it didn't, but it's awesome that like week to week like you're seeing the contract costs of these players adjusting. And as you mentioned, their cost is basically based on how likely the series is to go to a Map 5, basically the strength of schedule as well. But I will say, like, even in games that are just like 4-0s on one side or the other, like, I feel like with a daily setup, even if you're the person putting up that goose egg, I see like a much higher point total for those players as opposed to some of the other formats out there, which I thought was very interesting.
Yeah, now, like, explain, because this is something I actually don't know offhand, is what is the points on? Like, what do you get points for in this one?
I don't have the site up right this second.
Okay, because I looked on the rules and scoring, it doesn't have anything for there, so I don't know if you guys went over that but I imagine it's kills, healing, damage done.
Yeah.
Deaths, I know they punish for death.
They do.
Which is something that HighNoon.gg does not do. They do not punish for death. So, I mean, and you kind of have to take that into account. Like, Dogman is a fantasy stud, but when you take the amount of times he dies into account, he loses a lot because he dies a lot. Or, honestly, Bumper. Bumper loses basically all of his value because there's stats out there and they talk about this almost every week about how Bumper, like the win rate when they lose Bumper first, because he dies so much because he's so aggro. Or like if you remember that really ridiculous charge he did off the back of Volskaya on point A, well, yeah, he got the kill, but then he lost points because he needlessly charged someone off the map. Like, so yeah, Bumper loses a lot. So it's
it's gonna be fun. It's more fun than actual standard, and I think daily, as a whole, people need to embrace more as far as all fantasy sports.
Right, and it is worth noting too, there are alternative ways to earn coins. Some of that is like by referring people to the site. I know one of the ones that was actually just added today is you can watch like videos, and I know they added some of the Owl recap like player interviews. None of our stuff is on there, primarily just because like we don't really have short videos. But
Like,
maybe we'll figure something
out.
but you know, if you watch some of the player interviews from Owl recap, you know, our good friends over there, you can earn like 1,000 coins, which actually does go a pretty good duration when it comes to like the paid contests, especially since most of them, I want to say, do start at 100 coins. But go check them out. Join our league. Every Sunday will be the featured league, which I chose Sunday because there's the game of the week also falls on Sunday. So like I figured, what better time to do it when, you know, more eyes are technically on the product.
Yep. Also, challenge us.
Yeah.
That's going to be a fun thing. Is just challenge us. Like, see how you do against the podcasters and, you know, the fantasy guys and stuff like that. Definitely come do that and see how you can compare against us.
Yeah, challenge Bob and then laugh whenever he all-ins on a match and then it bites him in the ass.
Because you know he's going to do it. So yeah, just go to the site, check it out, have fun, explore, all that fun stuff.
And choose your allegiance, because you can pull up a page that has all of these basically like team designs that are all Owl based for the website, which is all absolutely awesome. I love that they did that. And Fowl was actually the one that did all of the design in regards to that as well. So I like how you can actually tell what each one is by just looking at them. You don't even need to like see what it is, but like he has like all of them on an Imgur page, and then you can just save it and then upload it for your profile pic. But with that being said, of course, you know, there is a lot going on in the competitive scene. And we did have some recent comments from Fisher, who was basically like trying to make a decision in regards to if he just is going to take a break the rest of the stage, or if he's just going to take a break indefinitely. And Fisher has decided to retire from professional play. Now, you know, this is a player who has a pretty storied history, for better or worse. Like, he has been on a couple of teams. He basically started back in 2017 when he was part of Kondu Panthera. There he finished second in Apex Season 3, and then he would go on to finish third in that following season. And then, of course, along with the other KDP members, he was picked up by the London Spitfire during the inaugural season. Now, unfortunately for Fisher, he did spend a lot of time on the bench, just due to the fact that Gesture was their start and main tank. So he eventually wound up on the Los Angeles Gladiators at a time where the Gladiators were really kind of like a bottoming out team. And then Fisher came on, and he really brought new life, where we started to see the aggression on the front line, which allowed the Gladiators' DPS to really start to pop off. And the difference between the Gladiators before Fisher and after Fisher, you know, signing with them was really night and day. So they didn't have to rely on iRemix, so they just went with Fisher from that point. And of course, you know, there was all the drama going into the season playoffs. Fisher didn't play, he got benched, and then the Gladiators lost 2-1 to the eventual champions, which of course were the London Spitfire. So, you know, fast forward a bit, and then during the offseason, Fisher was traded over to the Seoul Dynasty. And again, he did see split time. There was a lot of talk about, like, scrims and how Marvell was performing. And there was a lot of talk about, like, well, maybe Fisher actually isn't going to be the starting main tank. And lo and behold, Marvell had been starting the bulk of the play time. On Stage 3, we did see Fisher come into play a bit, and that was when, you know, Dynasty were doing, like, their A and B team, so to speak. So you had like their aggressive lineup, and then you had their more passive lineup with Marvell on the front line. But really, this retirement does mean a few things for the Dynasty. It means that they don't have a 12-man roster, so they do have an opportunity to pick someone up. But you know, that roster lock is, I want to say, on Monday. they don't have that much time if they're going to make a sign-in, but they might just choose to, just focus on Marvell. Hopefully, like, we're not gonna get Ryuji Kong. I don't want to see that. Stick with Marvell. But it does kind of mean like they're going to likely have to move away from the different lineup looks, and unfortunately, that does mean that Jaehan is going to take a backseat due to Fisher retiring, which I hate to see because he has been Mr. Consistency on, that team throughout the season, especially in Stage 3, both in the league and also in Fantasy whenever he is in. But looking back at, like, what do you think Fisher's impact was throughout his career on the teams that he was on?
Like, here's the thing with Fisher. We all kind of assumed, and it's kind of been proven, that he was not a good fit in a team situation. He's not a team player, anything like that. But the skill was there. Like, I think I don't think you can argue with the fact that Fisher had the skill to be out there. I mean, he took second place in the MVP last year after Jonak, and he didn't even play in Stage 1 because he was with the Spitfire not playing.
Right.
Yeah, so the skill is 100% there. And you got to even think to this year, in one of, like, the big upsets of the year so far is when Seoul took out the New York Excelsior in the Stage 1 playoffs. And that was kind of, I don't want to say on the back of Fisher, but Fisher played out of his mind that game. And, that is the Fisher that people have grown to love and appreciate. Now, I don't think Seoul did themselves any favors. Because when you have people constantly going in and out, in and out, in and out, you're going to get upset players. I guarantee you there is some, bitterness and saltiness on the Seoul Dynasty roster right now. Because not every player is like, well, I only want to play in 1, maybe 2 matches a week. That's not why they're there. Like, I almost want to say it's worse than being, like, not playing at all. Because, like, if you're not playing at all, you're just like, okay, I just need to improve to beat out this player. It's like, no, in this case, it's like, well, I'm only good on this one map. They're not going to switch me up onto the other map. And even if they do, I'm still only going to play 1 or 2 matches a week. Like, it's a no-win situation. Like, you're going to have players who want to play all the matches. And Seoul is like, no, you're not going to do that. And Fisher probably just, like, was a little bit homesick, a little bit annoyed and pissed off at Seoul, and a little bit, I don't want to say salty towards this new role lock, because he has been very anti-222 role lock, as we learned after. Because if you didn't know, he, like, the day after this was announced, basically was on stream and then said, screw it, I'm not in the league anymore, 222 role lock's coming for Stage 4. Like, he's just like, they can't, what are they gonna do, suspend me? I'm out of the league. So, like, I love Fisher. Like, I have 2 jerseys. I have my Spark Godspeed jersey, and I have my Seoul Dynasty Fisher jersey. Like, I still love Fisher. It sucks that he's out of the league. I don't know if I fully think he's actually out of the league. I would not be shocked if he comes back for Season 3 with the team. I just wouldn't. So who knows what's going to happen, but the skill is there. The attitude is not. Like, whereas with, like, XQC, like, he left and he's not coming back. The attitude's there with XQC. The skill is not on the same level. So it's iffy. I don't think Seoul is going to sign another tank in time. We would have heard something about them bringing in a tank. I think they're kind of stuck with this, Marvel, Michelle, Illicit. Is it Jexy or Toby? I can't remember.
Jexay has been the one.
Jexay, and then who's been the DPS on this one?
Fitz.
Fitz. All right. And like that's probably what we're gonna stick with. Maybe some minor changes here and there. But yeah, it's unfortunate. Sad to see Fissure go. But yeah, 3 teams in a 12-month span is not a good look.
Well, you know what? He doesn't have to be worried about getting benched in the stage playoffs since he's not in the league.
Yeah, you knew something was up when the Gladiators are like, we're benching our MVP main tank in the playoffs. Like, at that point, you're like, okay, something's going on. And lo and behold, something went on.
So, of course, you know, one person exits, and there's another team out there who has been continuing to pick up new pieces and put them in play. And no, I'm not talking about the Florida Mayhem. You know, they're done with their rebuild for better or worse. We're still waiting to see the payoff. We'll still be waiting. We'll see how that comes into play in Season 3. But the Toronto Defiant have been making some moves. So, I have to say, both of these, I was over the goddamn moon. Like, I was so excited because for one of them, I was really worried that this player was never going to make the Overwatch League, just due to the fact that a lot of these people that we've been accustomed to watching really since the early days of beta have been slowly kind of like fading out or just retiring altogether. So first up, we have, well, they're both DPS players. So Toronto Defiant, they went out and they signed Logix, as well as Menguchu. So, in this case, you have a promotion in-house from the Montreal Rebellion for Logix. And this is also like his return to the Overwatch League. So last year he did play on the Florida Mayhem, where he was on a DPS line alongside Saya player. Unfortunately, though, like we did get to see Logix primarily on Tracer. Not to say that his Tracer's bad, but like Widow has always kind of been his primary role, so he didn't get to flex that too much just due to Saya player. Not to take anything away from Saya player either, because they were both fantastic Widows. But I'm just really happy to see him back, and despite being on like the Mayhem throughout the entire season and being one of the standouts on that team, like they did not opt to re-sign him during the offseason, and no other team had picked him up. So Logix basically went out, he got signed by XL2 Academy, so he was on, you know, the New York Excelsior Academy team, which, like, we know, like, if you are not Korean, like, you're not gonna have an opportunity to get promoted on XL2 Academy. But, you know, he was released with them in January, and then got picked up by Montreal Rebellion, and now he's promoted. Now for Menguchu, this is his first venture into the Overwatch League. This is someone that has been playing since the beta days of Overwatch. He's been a representative for Canada in the World Cup for the past 2 years, and he's the first Canadian native to join the Defiant. Now, what's great about this is you're basically bringing on 2 DPS players that already have a little bit of built-in synergy, as both of them did play DPS on XL2 Academy at one point. And the Defiant have slowly started to incorporate more Western players onto their roster. So it seems like, you know, you have the Mayhem who started, like, Western, and then they shifted to all Korean. And then the Defiant are kind of, like, doing the reverse. So I want to see if they're going to keep dropping, like, their Korean players and moving towards, like, a Western roster, or if it's just still going to be split. So I'm really anxious to see that, but I love seeing that at least there are a few teams out there who are trying to stick in-house as much as possible in regards to bringing in their talent from the Path to Pro scene to play on the biggest stage, as opposed to people just kind of being stuck in, like, a sort of, like, purgatory, because, like, a lot of times, like, some of these, like, Path to Pro players are, one, just end up being on, like, a bad Academy team, and then they end up getting relegated, or they just go from Academy team to Academy team, or in some cases, go from an Academy team to a step down of being on a non-academy team. So there's like that extra like level of progression in Path to Pro. So like anytime we get to see a promotion, it's very refreshing to see that opportunity arise, basically.
Yeah. No, this was amazing. Like, Mangachu finally getting his opportunity is, I think when we were on Push the Point and we were like fantasy GMs for a team, I'm like, the Houston Outlaws should get Mangachu. And everyone, all of you, ridiculed me for that pick, saying it will never happen. And I thought of that. That's the first thing that popped into my head when he signed with Toronto. I'm like, ha, told you. You know, it's awesome to see him in there because his fair play is very good. You know, obviously people know about the Torbjorn, but his fair play is legit very good. And we saw that this week. And Logix is one of those special Widowmakers. Like, he 100% proved it this week where he was going off as Widowmaker this week.
Right.
And it was something awesome to see. And he is the first of the banished Mayhem players from last year to make it back into the league. Yeah, first one, because Maniton hasn't been back. And the rest of them are doing Lord knows what. But it's just great to see them back. And Spider actually said it best. It's like, after the signings, it's like, well, I guess I have to be a Defiant fan now. Because, like, it's one of those things, it's just a feel-good story to have them both in there. And another thing it does is it just fuels the 222 rumors.
Well,
like, this is, like...
Not only that, too, but, like, I feel like this is extra motivation for the people that are still in the grind.
Yeah, and... Yeah, who's the... I always forget his name. Who's the one other person that hasn't been signed and should be?
Davin from Gigante?
Davin,
yeah.
Yes. He's the one remaining one. That's
so
still
basically,
like,
we just need to say, it's never going to effing happen, and then he'll get signed by Monday.
Yes. Like, it sucks Ivy is the odd man out, but, you know, Ivy was their Zarya player. And I'm sorry, but Goats is not the meta anymore. It's just not. Goats is not meta. I mean, if anything, proving that, it's the Shock losses. Titans lost playing Goats. Goats is dead. I'll flat out say that. Goats is dead as a meta. The meta is a mixture of Sombra, Soats, whatever you want to call it, but triple support, 2 tanks in Sombra.
The countdown strat.
Yeah. Or you have the 4 DPS, or 3 DPS, 2 healers, 1 tank. That is the meta we are in now.
I will say, too, like, we've seen, like, 5 DPS looks, and then, like, 3 DPS triple support. Like, it's been a weird stage. Like, we've been seeing, like, so many oddity things this stage that it's just, like, you know, I kind of, like, looking forward to 222 just so, like, we don't see those sort of, like, shenanigans. Because more times than not, like, those looks are, like, okay, I'm intrigued, and then, like, it does not work at all. It's just, like, and that's why you don't play it.
Yeah. So, like... Alright, I've said this numerous times before. Those of you who want the 222 to get rid of Goats, that's the wrong reasoning.
Mm-hmm.
Like, 222 is to make the game better and to have better balancing, not to get rid of a meta. But this is a sign, these 2 signings is a sign that they are going to be going to the 222. Like, another, like, the 40th sign that they're going to the 222 roll lock for stage 4. Because, you know, you probably will want that Widowmaker or, you know, Pharah player in there. And who knows, Ivy just may not have been proficient at any of those. And that's why they brought him up. And like you said, they're going to a more Western roster. You know, I mean, I'm 37. is Korean, but not really.
Well,
Like
here's
he's
the,
a
here's the-
Western Korean player.
and that's the thing too. Ed. Like, do you feel like I'm 37 will get re-signed for season 3? Because there is a lot of overlap because he is their other hit scan player.
Okay, so this is a good segue. This is what we call a segue. I'm thinking that all Overwatch League teams are going to be forced to have contenders teams. And I think IM37 is going to be the prototypical two-way player.
Okay.
You that way you still have IM37, but he will be playing in contenders as well. And then I don't know if they keep Ivy around. They may, but I don't know if they keep him around because right now I don't think they have a backup. They have one backup support, and they have a backup tank, and maybe they just want more depth. So, who knows what's going to happen? But I think this is going to be something along the lines of he becomes a two-way player. Maybe one other person on their teams, like Roki, becomes a two-way player, or they sign another support and go that route. But yeah, I'm 37. Like the hype was around him, but he didn't perform.
I feel like he did on certain heroes, but as soon as they like swapped him around, like he kind of like was an afterthought at that point. But like again, like that was just a unique situation since he speed ran Path to Pro in 20 days.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you're signing a person for their future talents. They just need to get there. Like you saw that with Quartermain, with the Spitfire. Like he signed with Spitfire before he probably should have been in the Overwatch League, and they just had him sit and learn. And now Quartermain is their starting main support. Don't know if that's the best move right now, but he is the starting main support. But he got there prematurely. Sometimes you see the potential, the ceiling, the high ceiling, and you put them on your roster to protect them from another team signing them. Like, I mean, I saw the Brewers, Wonky Brewers, 3 years ago. They got a pitcher who was fresh, like brand new, like should have been in single A ball in baseball. But they kept him on the roster, the Major League Baseball roster, for the entire season to protect him from other teams going out to sign him. And I think that's what they're going to do with IM37. They probably didn't have him on a two-way contract because at the time they had Mangachu and Logix. So you're not going to bench one of those two to have IM37 play. So now that those two are both called up, you can safely put IM37 on a two-way contract and get him playing time in contenders to build him up to play more in the Overwatch League. And I think that's what they envision the two-way contract players be. So.
Gotcha. So with that being said, I do quickly want to go back to Twitch chat 1 second, and Alkis had said that he does not want 2-2-2, he'd rather see mirrored compositions. Now, here's the thing with that. Like, let's say in an instance that we do get 2-2-2, a lot of times when we do see that in the league, the way to deal with that is to just mirror it. So in most cases, you probably are going to see mirrored compositions. It might not be 100% of the time, but more times than not, the answer or the counter, so to speak, is to just run whatever the other team is running and just try to do it better. So I guess it's kind of...
And the thing is you're going to get these metas. Like, I guarantee you the next meta we have, 2 months after we get that meta, people will be complaining about that meta.
Oh yeah, that happens time and time again.
Yeah, it's a never-ending thing. But I get it, Alkis. Like, you want to see the mirror comps or slight variations. I think it's more the 2-2-2. People want to see the 2-2-2 because for the same reason you play a quick play
and you get 5 DPS locked heroes, is tanks and supports aren't flashy. For the most part. They're not as flashy as a Widowmaker headshot, or Tracer Pulse Bomb, or Barra Barrage, or... Wait a second, I was about to say Reaper Ultimate, but I'm like, oh, we don't see that anyway. But like, they're just not as flashy, and I think that is what a lot of people want to see, is they just want to see more DPS, which I think is a valid reason for wanting 222. Just to see the flashiness out there, and to be able to play the flashy players. And when your flashiest player is D.Va? Like is that the, like, a D.Va Bomb the flashiest play you can make in GOATS? Probably. So, like, you know, it's one of those things where you're gonna definitely see it, and I want to see that more in the Overwatch League too, because more flashy plays means more interesting to watch.
And, you know, players playing the roles means you actually see the players. And it kind of lengthens their careers to an extent as well. Now, that being said, of course, you know, on our prior episode, we were talking about the new JJoNak skin that's going to be in the game to commemorate his MVP accomplishment from the inaugural season. And the skin is now available in-game. It is available only for a limited time, though, so you can get it between now and July 14th. And it is bought via the Overwatch League tokens. So the skin will set you back 200 tokens. So, you know, if you're looking at buying it, you just have to go, you know, in-game, go to the Overwatch League menu, and then it will be in the gray Overwatch League tab. So, as I mentioned on our other show, Overwatch League Network, I've not bought this one yet. Just because I finalized getting all of my Soul Dynasty skins. Like, cause me, that was like my first priority with tokens. So I got that out of the way. So we'll see whether or not I'm gonna get enough tokens in time to buy this one. Because I really do like this skin. I just like the fact that it kind of ties also into the Cultist skin. So you have like 2 different like squid variants, except one is just more dark compared to the other.
Yeah, I mean, I bought it immediately. Like, so I own this. The nice thing is they did the double drops, and I think you used to get emails when you got 100.
You did.
Token drop. I don't think you do anymore. Because, like, I was just logged on, and, like, I had always been around, like, 200. Like, I always like to have, like, a good base for if something drops like this. And, like, so I was right around 200, then I logged on, and I'm like, I have 575 points. Tokens. I'm like, what is going on here? So I'm pretty sure I got 1 or 2 of the 100 drops. I just didn't get emails, which I'm fine with. So I was able to buy this, and then I got 2 more Spark skins, because I'm doing the same thing you did with Soul, as I'm just going down the list now, buying the Spark skins. Not equipping them all, I just want to unlock them all. But yeah, no, this is super. The Squidzord, freaking, skin is awesome. I mean, if you've ever played World of Warcraft, the squids, that's exactly how they look in a lot of Warcraft, and they kind of stuck with that design. So it's really cool, and each one of the balls floating around Zenyatta's neck are little squids, and it's a really cool skin, and I love the fact that they're doing this for the MVP. And obviously they're gonna continue this on, like, throughout. Be like, okay, next MVP, you're gonna be getting 1 too. Next MVP, so on and so forth. So, yeah, and it makes for an interesting talking point. Like, we talked about who our MVP for the league is gonna be. Like, I think a lot of people think it's gonna be someone from the Titans. That'd be the safe bet, but who from the Titans? And then, well, then if you go with the Titans, let's say Twilight wins. Are you gonna
give it a Twilight Zenyatta skin or a Twilight Anna skin.
Yeah, that's a good point too, because like you don't want to just keep adding it for the same hero. But Ed, I'm curious. Like, let's say, for example, Bumper takes the MVP. Do you do a Reinhardt skin, or do you troll and give him a Hanzo skin?
I think if they troll Bumper, it has to do with something about his. They have to come up with a skin on Reinhardt that mocks his playstyle. So, like, a stealth Reinhardt for all his stealth shatters. Or you can do something where it's like a ghost Reinhardt from all his deaths. Like, something like that. That would actually be pretty cool. Because, like, you're not just going to give them a basic skin. You know, you have to incorporate them as a player into it as well. But yeah, no, Bumper would definitely get trolled. Although it would be amazing to see him get a Hanzo skin. Or, like, I mean, you could do it with anything. Like, I know he won't win it, but let's say Jake wins the MVP. Mm-hmm. Everyone's going to be like, Junkrat skin. Nope, Tracer. Like, okay, that's actually kind of funny. Give Jake a Tracer skin, you know. So, it will be interesting to see. Like, Gushue, if Gushue wins, you're going to get a Winston skin. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, you just don't want it to be a Zenyatta player every season.
Right.
Because that would just get boring. And then that's going to be like, well, maybe we should nerf Zenyatta. Because if they're the MVP every season, there's something to be said here. So.
Just means that everyone else needs to get good.
Right? I mean, I don't know if you saw this about Jonak. On YouTube, there is a site, a YouTube channel that does, like, the history of, and then it's, like, a specific esports players. So they've done the history of Shroud, the history of Seagull, history of, like, a lot of the most popular, like, XQC, a lot of the most popular Twitch streamers. They just came out with the history of Jonak. This, like, a week and a half ago. Mm-hmm. I'll send it to you so we can put it somewhere. It's like a 12-minute, like, mini documentary on Jonak that is actually very interesting and intriguing to listen to, and find out of, you know, because it's what a lot of people don't know is Jonak didn't play competitively before Overwatch.
Yeah, he was a ladder hero.
Yeah, he got picked off the Overwatch ladder to start for the New York Excelsior. Like, just out of nowhere, no competition, didn't play in Apex over in Korea. They're just like, you're really good on the ladder. Why don't you come join us? So, yeah, but I'll link that to you probably after the show, and definitely worth a watch.
Alright, so getting back into the agenda, we do have some Academy team news, both of them coming from the Chinese teams. So first up, we do have Guangzhou Charge looking to re-enter contenders, essentially, just with a new team. So they went out and they acquired the one winner, aka T1W, as their new Academy team. So they are going to be renamed to T1W.GZA for Guangzhou Academy. Now, as I mentioned, this is the Charge's second go with an Academy team, as their prior one flopped very hard. They didn't win a single match. And because of that, they were also relegated to Trials, and then Guangzhou was like, yeah, we're not going to compete, and then they just release all their players. Now, looking at T1W, and, like, I know you're not super familiar with them, but this has been really one of the most, like, prolific Chinese teams in Overwatch for quite some time, you know, outside of, like, Miraculous Youngster. So you have this Chinese powerhouse team who has never failed to make it into the semifinals minimum in Contenders China. So they're always one of the mainstay teams. They won in the 2018 Contenders Season 3. They took third place in the recent Pacific Showdown, where we got to see them play a couple of matches as well against some of the other elite regional teams, of course, because that was some of the best. It was interregional, so we got to see them going up against some of the other powerhouse teams. And they did open up their season already with a 4-0 victory over 666 Legend. Now, this is one of the things that we're always talking about, with these Overwatch League teams. Are you better off just handpicking, some of the bigger players from multiple teams, or do you just go outright and acquire a team? And I much prefer this route, because you're able to continue to build that synergy. I feel like it's less of a longer journey. You're not having to build up that synergy over the course of an entire season. And with contenders, you basically only have 5 weeks. That's not a lot of time to basically get your bearings or get your feet underneath you. And with just the storied success of T1W, it gives them a lot of pieces in play, and it's a lot of good moves that the Charge can make when it comes to promotions. Now, I don't know what the age of the players are on this particular lineup, but their success is really the biggest driving factor here. And after how badly their prior Academy team did, at least this is just okay, that didn't work. Let's go out and sign the best team that we can in this region, and we'll just continue from there. So it was a smart move by the Charge, and I can guarantee you, we're not going to see T1W not make the semifinals. I mean, they're just super consistent, and they'll have some interesting competition just with one of the other Academy teams who have also been making moves.
Yeah, I mean, this is really smart of the Charge. Like you said, their first Charge team was trash. Was just horrible. And they got rid of it, and they said that, I don't think they ruled out getting in another Contenders team. They just said they wanted to take time to figure things out, kind of like the Mayhem did, or are doing right now.
Right.
But to go out and acquire an all-Chinese Contenders team is the smart move, especially with the move to China next season. So you have a Chinese player base with Chinese fans backing up this team, because the Charge they're a mixed roster team, but they're really a Korean team. 5 of their 6 starters are Koreans, and then they kind of rotate out non-Koreans. And, this is smart for them. I also think it's still a sign of they wanted to sign this team before someone else did, because the Overwatch League is going to require teams to have Contenders teams for Season 3. It's been long rumored. It's a smart decision to force them to do, to have a Contenders team, and the Charger just went out and was like, you know what? If we have to have a Contenders team, we might as well get one of the most successful Contenders teams in China. It just makes sense. And China is definitely an untapped, it's a relatively untapped player base. There's a very few Chinese players in the Overwatch League, despite having three Chinese Overwatch League teams. So, this is a good way to get more Chinese players noticed, called up into the Overwatch League, all that fun stuff. So, yeah, this was a great move. I don't know, like you said, I don't know much about this team because I don't follow the Chinese contender scene, or really even the Korean contender scene. And it's good to know that this is they're not just trying to patch together a team like they did before. So good for them, but not the only Chinese team to make Contenders news.
Right. I do quickly want to note, just in regards to Contenders Korea, Fusion Uni did win their first match.
Against Runaway.
No.
I know they did it, but their first match was against Rebel.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know, based on the wording. But
Based on the wording.
their win and their loss was also in a map 5. So there is that. But anyway, so the Hanjo Spark.
They're keeping that streak alive of
Yeah.
going to map 5 all the time.
I mean, it doesn't matter what your map differential in, as long as you have a winning record.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so they're going for that. So we'll see how that's going to balance out. So more than likely, you know, at this rate, they're going to finish with a +4 map differential. Or like a +1 or something like that. We'll see how it balances out. But anyway, so the Hanjo Spark also have made a little bit of movement. This is more of a lateral move. Well, I don't want to say lateral. I mean, they're still technically two-way players. But the Spark have sent 2 of their players over to their academy team, Bilibili Gaming. So the players in question are one of their DPS players, Bazzy, as well as a tank player in No Smite. So they are two-way player contracts. And I'm not honestly surprised by either move here, because both of these players haven't taken the stage since Stage 1 this year. So early on, we saw No Smite split in time with Guxue before Guxue was settled in to be the starting main tank. I know Bazzy had basically came in as the Sparks Brigida player, but they've primarily been sticking with Adora on that role, but we have also seen Crystal from time to time playing the Brig. This is really like the first time that we've seen any sort of roster change on this academy team since it was announced back in March. Now, these 2 players are Korean, which is important to note because their academy team is completely Chinese. So we'll see how that is going to work out. And it does put their academy team at 9 players, which means due to the rosters in Contenders, they're going to have to sit a player out each week of Contenders. Because they're only allowed to have 8 there. Now, you know, looking at Bilibili here, they are coming off of a win in the Summer Land Story Cup, which is one of the more notable... I don't know if it's a major... I'll have to double-check Liquipedia to see if that's a major or a minor. But, by the way, the Liquipedia site is on Twitter now. So go support them, because they do a lot for the Overwatch community. Especially, you know, the competitive scene. But they are basically looking at improving on their semifinal finish in the last season of Contenders China. So here you see, like, the Charge making drastic moves, and then you have Bilibili Gaming, who have kind of been, like, in a similar situation and looking to try to keep pace with T1W. So we'll see how they're going to do. They did win their first game as well. I know they defeated LGD Gaming 3-1. But when it comes to, like, these moves with, you know, main rosters and academy teams, I'd much rather see them, you know, keep the player on contract. Like, if they really feel like they have something there. That way they're still giving them an opportunity to, you know, earn their spot back, but also, like, just keep them fresh, because you don't want to just, like, sit on a player and then just sit idle. Because they're basically, like, another things can happen. Like, they can just be mentally broken. Like, we've seen that quite often. You can see a little bit of fall off. And, like, even when you do bring them back, that doesn't mean that you're going to get them in the same shape or, you know, get necessarily what you're expecting from the players. But both of these players did do fairly well early on. It's just the Spark as a whole it's a very competitive team. Like, they are a deep roster, and they've really pushed themselves to the forefront, especially in this stage, because, like, really they're when you look at these teams, when you look at all the iterations of the evolving meta that we have seen in Stage 3. Not that many teams are winning fights running 3-3. Hanjo Spark is one of the exceptions, and they primarily do that off of Guxue's Winston play, but it just comes to show, like, this is a team that can basically run whatever meta they want at this point, and no matter how many iterations we're seeing, like, they're still able to answer with something that hasn't been necessarily considered to be a counter, but I love things staying in-house. Whether it is just a lateral move or promotion, so I'm just more interested in seeing how well they're going to integrate into that Chinese team in Contenders.
Yeah, that's probably going to be the most interesting thing, because now you take the Bilibili, and turn it into a mixed roster, putting in 2 starting Korean players on an all Chinese roster. That's going to take some changes, because you're not sending No Smite and Bessie down there to not play. Like, they're going to be starting. And I will say this, they have a really good DPS lineup right now. Because you put Bazzi down there, and then their other DPS is Shy, who is... I love Shy. Shy is good. If you watched him, he was on the Chinese World Cup team last year. He cannot be on this year because he's only, I think, 16, 17, something like that. So, but that's going to be a good DPS duo, but it's going to be interesting to see how they all work together. But at least they're getting playtime, and that's the most important thing. Is you want to get these players playtime, because more often than not, they're not even getting scrim time. Unless you're on a full 12-man roster, a large portion of your backups aren't even playing. Like IDDQD has said on stream, when he was with the San Francisco Shock, he would go to the practice room and he would just sit there and play ladder matches while everyone else scrimped, and that was his form of practicing. So, and that's not really practicing. Yeah, that's not really practicing. Now they're going to be playing with them, and they're actually going to probably be practicing with the team, doing all that stuff. Now, it's going to be interesting to see what they do if, they're going to be in LA, or are they going to send them back to to go play in China with the team? Or are they going to deal with that land differential? Not land, but you're playing in LA, but you're playing in Chinese time zone. And the leg and all that stuff is always an issue. So that's yet to be seen, which is obviously a non-factor for next season, but that's a whole new season. A lot of things can happen. But it's good to actually just get them to play. That's really all you want. Because No Smite was not an awful tank in Stage 1 when he was playing on and off with Gushue. Gushue just kind of stood out above him, which we all kind of expected he would. So, yeah, good for them. Good for the Spark. Good for the Spark Contenders team. I like to see all of this, because that just means the Spark are going to do good. Especially when Shy turns 18 and gets called up. Shy and Crystal on the same team together. Calling it now.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So outside of that, we also do have some new Overwatch League merchandise that just hit the Blizzard Gear store. And this is a new Hometown collection. So basically, you have, every team having 2 new designs in, t-shirts. They also do offer one of those 2 as an art print as well. So, I'll be honest, the shirts are expensive. They're $30 a pop. That is a lot of money for a t-shirt. So, I'm definitely gonna hold off until they do, some sort of sale. But, the art prints start at, $10 for, a non-framed one. Or you could, spend, an extra $40 if you want to get it framed. But I have to say, there were definitely a couple that really stood out. The Vancouver Titans one, I really like. I think the 2 other notable ones that I really like were the Mayhem one, that kept, the Vice color in, that has, kind of a neon, sort of, sign look to it, because it has, the pink flamingo, and then you kind of have, the Mayhem logo on there, and it has, Bring the Mayhem on the front. But again, it's a Mayhem. I'm probably not going to buy it. And at $30, I'd rather just buy a jersey, to be honest. If I were to go that route to keep Vice colors. But I know the Shock have, a Full House, reference t-shirt, which I thought was pretty interesting. But, some of them are just, based off of, the team logos, or based around things in, the home cities and things like that. So it's a lot of stuff based on the culture of whatever area that they are in, which I think is really nice. But really, the cost, man, $30 for a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Like, I'm used to spending like 15, 20. 30 is really pushing it.
Yeah, no, it's too much. There are some cool ones, like you said. The Florida Mayhem ones were pretty cool. I really like them. The one with the alligator on the beach in the hammock was pretty fun. The Hanzo Spark one, where it just like says "bang" across it, that was actually pretty good. But I'm not spending $30 on these shirts. Like I'm just not. And like the photographs and stuff like that. Like I'm not gonna spend $10 on a photograph and then pay for a frame, put it on a frame, hang it up, and so on and so forth. So I'm not just gonna tape it to the wall like college dorm room style. Like so
like these, you know.
Yeah. Oh, that's awkward. But you know, it's good when the sale comes around, which inevitably will come around, probably October, November-ish. I may buy some of these because like you're gonna get that like sale of everything's 50% off. Let's try and sell some Overwatch League merch. Because season 3 will be coming in a few months and all new merchandise will be coming out. It's what happened last year, will happen again this year. And you know, I may buy it because they may be $10-15. Sure. I'll spend $10-15 on a shirt. I will not spend $30 on a t-shirt. I draw the line at that. So
Pretty
I don't know.
costly.
Yeah, it's costly, but they're all like cool designs. Like I like the designs of all of them. There's not one that like I was like, okay, that's really stupid. There wasn't one that stuck out to me like that, except the Dallas Fuel.
The unicorn one?
The unicorn one that looks, yeah, that one was real stupid. Real stupid. But it's the Fuel. I shouldn't be shocked.
I mean, it's a magical thing. I mean, we this is gonna be a perfect segue. Like, we gotta see Taimu play. Like, that was magic. Like, there was some witchcraft involved in order to get Taimu to play. After they caved into his bitching on social media.
All right, segue. We're gonna start talking about the matches last week here. Yeah, he may have bitched and they may have put him in, but here's the thing. It worked.
It did, which was surprising. Like,
Off.
it's so crazy because like they were going up against New York Excelsior here in what all of us assumed was gonna be just a blowout. Now, NYXL did come out on top, but this did go to 5 maps, and a lot of the time we did get to see Taimu on Sombra to counteract SBB, who was also running the Sombra. And what was crazy about this is, you know, Taimu basically comes in, not having played the entire season. And there were so many times when he would just pick off CBLB before the fights, or he would catch him in an EMP. And, you know, part of that was just due to the fact that the few were keeping a good eye on the translocator positions for SBB. But, like, I was not expecting, like, that form of Taimu on stage. Like, I thought he would have his moments, but, like, ultimately, it would just be the same old Fuel. And it did not feel like that throughout all of that. So, you know, we always talk about how, like, the OGs of Overwatch have slowly started to fade away. So to see Taimu come in and just really just be in form in regards to his overall performance was really exciting to see. And like what was crazy about this too, like outside of just Taimu's performance, is the fact that the Fuel opted to run a lot of Pharah play. And Libero was basically forced to play D.Va to try to deal with the Pharah in the sky, which isn't necessarily ideal, but to force Libero to basically play a hero that he's not known for, which is weird because, he is someone that we consider to be one of the most flexible players in the league. To force his hand like that definitely threw a lot of wrinkles in the New York Excelsior's plan in this particular series.
Here's the thing I don't get. Pharah lately has just been destroying people.
Mm-hmm.
Like all teams. How... Pharah has so many flipping counters. Like, all you need to do, swap to a Widowmaker, and they will switch off of Pharah. They will.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, a diva might deter some of what Pharah does, but if you swap to Widowmaker, they're gonna swap off Pharah. 100%. And then you can switch off Widowmaker.
It's crazy too, because like, it's not like Libero isn't known for hit scan either.
Yeah,
or really like anyone on New York Excelsior, to be honest. They have like 5 Widowmaker players. Let's be real here.
No, now when you have a Far Mercy in the sky, a regular hit scan is probably not going to deter them too much because the McCree buffs aren't in there right now.
Mm-hmm.
But a Far Mercy, Mercy can't protect you from a headshot from a Widowmaker. It's just not going to happen. You're going to take out one of them, and then you're probably going to take out the other. Like, it is just the hard counter to Pharah. But nobody's switching to Widowmaker when they're running Far Mercy. And Far Mercy is just destroying them. Like, I don't get this. It should be an easy counter to a Pharah, and nobody's doing it. That is why you're seeing teams like the Shock lose. You're seeing teams like the Titans lose because they're stubborn and they're like, well, our diva can take care of the Pharah. Well, no, they really can't. They can negate the ultimate, but Pharah's ultimate is a death sentence.
Well, I do feel like part of that, though, is in regards to the coaching staff. Like, they look at playing certain compositions on each map that they have practice, and I feel like a lot of times there's not a lot of like in-game discussion for in-the-moment swaps happening because the coaches just want to stick to what the game plan is, as opposed to differentiating from that. There's a lot of fireworks going off, as you would expect, so I apologize if there's a ton of background noise on my end, but July 4th is coming up in a couple of days, so you're just gonna have to get used to it on Twitch. I'll edit it out in the iTunes version. But I feel like that's primarily what it is. Now, there are times when we do see like teams swap in, but like there does seem to be a lot of inconsistency when people are actually looking to counter as opposed to just sticking with the game plan. Like, it just varies too much, and it's really hard to tell like who makes that decision like in the moment, when it's actually happening, because like the coaches can't talk to the team during the maps.
No, and that's something we'll never know is who's making the call. Is it one person making the call for the team, or is it an individual being like, all right, I'm switching now, I'm gonna do this? You just don't know who it is unless you're in on the comms. Like, people can make speculations, but no one really knows for sure unless you're listening in. But yeah, it's just, I know it seems stupid, like, and obvious, like, oh, just click foreheads, lol. But like, when you have a hard counter to a character, you should switch to the hard counter on the character if they're wrecking your team. Like, it's not, like you said, it's not like Libero was like, hey, I'm the off tank, I can switch to diva to counter. No, Libero is basically like, he's the OG Rascal. Because like, Rascal now is known for the most like, I can pick up any hero and play it. That's what Libero was in season 1. Libero can play Widowmaker, or can play a hit scan. to constantly annoy, can go switch to Soldier, can switch to McCree, can switch to Hanzo, anything like that, and harass and annoy them to the point of they switch or they become less effective.
Yeah, and I do want to note that this was brought up in our Twitch chat from Aldicus. Like, a lot of times we are seeing Wrecking Ball come into play, and there's a lot of harassment in the back line, and that's why we're not necessarily seeing the direct counters to the Pharah, with the Widow, because there is that extra pressure being added from the opposition. So like there's always like the counter to the counter, so there's a lot of 4D chess stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with that being said, something I do want to talk about is, we have seen, again, like, the continued rise of Sombra play throughout the Overwatch League, throughout this stage. And, due to that, we also have kind of seen, like, the evolution of how teams are dealing with Sombra. So, like, you have the Spark, who are just like, yeah, that's nice, we're just gonna run Winston 3-3 and still absolutely demolish you, winning, like, 65% of their team fights. More fireworks good enough. We have, like, the Shock, who are like, we can probably still stick to 3-3, but we're gonna have Rascal. We'll swap him to the Baptiste. And really, like, when you look at these teams, really the Shock are the only team incorporating that specific thing. So they have, like, their own unique way of handling things. And then, you have other teams who are just, like, running the 3-2-1 with the Sombra in play. Or, they're running like 4 DPS looks at time. Like, there's so many different ways that we've seen brought into the league to try to deal with a Sombra play. And not everyone is doing it the same way, which I really like to see. But, like, I feel like in the Shock's case, like, they are the only team in the league that can run that Baptiste 3-3 and find that success just due to the fact that Rascal is the most, like, prolific Baptiste player. And really one of the few players that's actually running him. Now, sure, that kind of, like, skewers the perception of how good he is, but you can just tell the impact that he is making and just how good his lamp placement is in particular.
Yeah, Baptiste is not meant to be played by an actual support. Let's get that straight. Like, his kit, almost said her, his kit is built for a DPS player to play him. Like, you have the grenades and you have the actual gun. Like, those are two things that you get the skill from playing, DPS. That's why I actually always thought Jake would be a great Baptiste.
Mm-hmm.
Because he could heal just as well as anyone on it, and he could click foreheads doing that. Like, I always thought
as opposed to his Brigida play.
Exactly. So the Shock are more in the, we're going to run Baptiste, and if we deviate from the GOAT's plan, they run a decent bunker comp. But you know who counters bunker comp? Pharah. Pharah does counter a lot of bunker comps because good at breaking shields, can displace people rather easily with her knockback, stuff like that. So, if a good Pharah keeps their distance against a bunker comp and just fires rockets, that's going to be an annoyance. So, like, that's why you're seeing them lose, is they're just running bad counters on that team. And they just pray for more goats. Like, they pray for more goats so they can continue running what they're doing, but it's just not working out for them. They need to switch it up. Kind of like, you saw the Titans.
Mm-hmm.
They were sticking to the goats. We're going to stay true to the goats, and then they lost. And then this week they came in and they're like, screw goats.
Yeah, they brought Stitch in.
Yeah, and they brought Stitch in. They benched Janu for I think 3 of the maps. At least 2, maybe 3 of the maps, because I started Janu. I think we both did it unlimited.
And then I was sour.
Yeah, did you start Seominsu too?
No.
Oh, see, I did. That didn't work out. Actually, he got me 84 points, but still, that's low for him.
That's not good.
Yeah, but like, you know, they ran triple support. They ran a Reaper. They ran an effective Reaper.
That's an oxymoron, sir.
Suck it, Surefour. But you know, they even switched. The Shock just need to switch because the deepest part of the Shock's roster is their DPS.
So let me ask you this: do you feel like for the Shock it's too little, too late in that regard? Like, since we are so close to the Sage playoffs, have they missed the boat, so to speak?
No, I don't think they've missed the boat. I think they just need to. I mean, it could be a giant mind game from them as well. They could have gone into the last match and been like, okay, we're gonna make the playoffs. Why show them what we're gonna switch to for the actual playoffs? And if we win, we win. If we don't, we don't. But then come playoffs, they're gonna start running more DPS focus counts. And then kind of really throw people off. It could be they sandbagged the last game to throw everyone off their actual strats for the playoffs, which would be smart from their point of view, and something, you know, Krusty, who's probably one of the top 2 coaches in the league, could pull off. So, you know, you may see Striker come out. We may have a Striker sighting. You know, who knows what we're gonna do? You know, the odd man out is probably gonna be Choyobin, because all you really see Choyobin on is D.Va, and D.Va is the one expendable character when you're switching everything around. So yeah, you know, you could see Moth, and you know, Moth can play really anything. I think Moth is probably the best main support in the league right now, in my opinion. And Violet is a top 3 flex support. Top 3, 4, depending on his, like, how much Ana play he actually gets in, or if he sticks to Zenyatta.
Yeah, that's the thing too. I'm just thinking with Zen is definitely hurting them in the Sombra matchups.
So yeah, you know, it's if he sticks on Zenyatta, then he gets hurt. But you have a great support line. You have the depth at DPS, and you wonder how Super is on Wrecking Ball. That's another question mark. We don't really know how he performs on Wrecking Ball.
Yeah, so for all we know, you know, Troy Hilbin might be the better Wrecking Ball.
Yeah,
like
which
similar to
you
with
see
like the Titans with Janu.
Yeah, except they didn't play Janu. They played Bumper. Shouldn't have happened. Janu should have been in there every map. And then when they decided to go with 2 tanks, they bring Bumper back in. But they won 4-0, so you can't really argue with them.
So with that being said, we do have a pretty clear indication of what the playoff picture is for this stage. So as we mentioned, you know, towards the top of the show, we have 6 of the 8 spots clinched so far. So right now we're looking at the Vancouver Titans, the Hangzhou Spark, San Francisco Shock, the Seoul Dynasty. We have the Los Angeles Valiant, and the Houston Outlaws. What a weird stage, man. It's a crazy stage. And I swear, if we get a Valiant Outlaws finals, I don't know what I'm going to say. Like, that would just be, like, the weirdest, like, stage finals. But the 2 primary frontrunners to lock up those final 2 slots are the NYXL, who have not lost the series yet. They're 5-0 this stage. They have a map differential of +9. So they're looking good. They just gotta really, like, win a map or 2, and I'm pretty sure they're set. You also have the Shanghai Dragons, who are currently 4-1, so they basically need to win at least one of their matches this weekend. They have a +5 map differential. So when we kind of, like, look at the lineup, I know New York Excelsior, they face, like, Florida and Toronto, like, both very winnable games. And for the Dragons, they face the Guangzhou Charge and the Philadelphia Fusion, which Honestly, like, both of those could be perceived as, like, trap games. Like, we've seen a lot of good and a lot of bad from the Charge. It seems to be, like, a week-to-week thing. And then Fusion have slowly started to, bring in more DPS, so they've started to gain a little bit of momentum. But, it's also Fusion. Like, we see great things, we see awful things, but they're probably the most inconsistent team in the Overwatch League. But I'm not expecting any changes, or like seeing either the Dragons or NYXL as unlikely as it would be to fall out of that top 8. So
yeah, I mean the thing is the Gladiators essentially are out of the playoffs. Let's just get that out of the way now, because it's gonna come down to Shanghai versus Philly. New York Excelsior are gonna win at least one of their next 2 matches. They're in. They're in first place right now. They're in. Let's just go with that. 99.999% they're in. The Fusion play Washington Justice in their first game. That's a win. Let's just go with that. That's a win. And then they play Shanghai. So they'll both be at either 4 or 5 wins. Philly will be at least 4 wins. If they win both their games, they'll be at 5 wins, which knocks the Gladiators out. So the only way the Gladiators get in is if Philly loses to the Washington Justice, and then Shanghai, they have to lose to their first match, which is against the Charge, by more than 1 map, and then lose to the Justice, lose to the Fusion, and then the Gladiators will get it. So Shanghai has to go 1-1, and Philly has to go 1-1. Yeah, 1-1. So both of them have to go 1-1, and they play each other. So both have to lose on Saturday for the Gladiators to even have a shot at getting it. And even then, it's slim. Because Shanghai could lose both the matches and still... No, they couldn't get in. If Shanghai loses both the matches, then they could get in. It's very convoluted, but the Gladiators have like a 2% chance of getting books. Because I don't see the Fusion. Their fate will be decided on Saturday before Fusion versus Shanghai. And I'll get this out of the way. The Outlaws are in the playoffs. And I know I have not been a big Outlaw supporter.
What?
But here's the thing. Custa even said it on his stream.
We have 2 0-7 teams that made the Stage 3 playoffs.
The Outlaws are probably not good enough to be in the playoffs. They are the number 8 seed right now. And they had the easiest schedule known to mankind. Like, you have to take that into account. You know, when you play Paris Eternal, Florida Mayhem, Washington Justice, Toronto Defiant in your last 4 matches, and you go 3-1, like, yes, they beat the Shock. I will give them that. They lost to the Mayhem. One's great, one's bad. They beat crappy teams to get in. So they have to truly prove themselves, because they're going to get destroyed in round 1. They're just going to. And I think there's a lot of hype. They've improved a lot. They have improved a lot. They were a bottom 3 team coming into stage 3. They are around the number 10 to 11 team right now. They're not a playoff team yet. The only reason they're in the playoffs is because they played such a weak schedule. Like, I don't think anybody in their right mind is like, the Outlaws are better than the LA Gladiators. Like, who honestly would say that? But the Outlaws will get into the playoffs and the Gladiators won't, based on strength of schedule. I'm sorry, Outlaw fans, but like, this isn't just me knocking on the team. This is actual facts. They had a crazy easy schedule, and they got into the playoffs based on that.
Sometimes it just be like that. But like I said, like it's just crazy though. Like you have two 0-7 teams making these Stage 3 playoffs, and for like the LA Valiant, like they're actually in the top 12 at this point after the stage that they had. So that was an absolute massive win for them, and it puts them in a position where like this is really something that they can build off of, and it's a good opportunity for them to make the play-in tournament at this point. I know the Outlaws still have a little bit of work to do to kind of find themselves in a similar position, but looking at this Atlanta homestand, again, like, it is a travel week, so we only have games on Saturday and Sunday. Sunday obviously being our daily fantasy, listener league, so sign up for that. Again, I'm going to keep shilling it. But on Saturday, we have the Florida Mayhem going up against the New York Excelsior. We have Philadelphia Fusion versus the Washington Justice. Toronto Defiant face the Atlanta Reign. And then we close out the night with the battle for China between the Guangzhou Charge and the Shanghai Dragons.
Can you have a battle for China without the best Chinese team?
No, you can't.
All right, let's just get that out.
It's for mere bragging rights, essentially.
It's for mere second place bragging rights.
Yeah, it's a battle for second, which...
for second in China.
To be honest, I'm really not expecting too much of a battle with how inconsistent Charge have been. But, for me, there's a couple of things that I'm interested in. For one, it is a homestand, but, like, comparatively, this does feel very lackluster for a schedule. Because you basically have, a top team in the New York Excelsior. You have Shanghai Dragons, who are a playoff team. And you basically have, like, a lot of these, like, 14 through 20th ranked teams. And, it's hard to, like, build a storyline around that for an event. So, like, part of me is like, great, like, it's a travel week. Like, I'm curious to see what the turnout is going to be. How many Florida Mayhem fans are going to show up in the same building? I know of at least 5 that are going, which is the biggest crowd that they've probably seen at any event. Because normally, in the arena, we only see 1. So, like, they are multiplying slow but surely. But I want, for the Mayhem in particular, like, it's not just I want to see how many fans of theirs are going to travel. I want to see how many pieces they're going to incorporate this week, since, they have kind of, like, finalized what the roster is going to be. I want to see them continue to move those pieces around, and, more times than not, we see, like, a team like the Justice, like, towards the end of the season, like, they seem to, like, avoid that 0-7, so, like, are they gonna beat the Fusion? Are they gonna beat the Charge? Like, I don't know, but they always kind of seem to have that one win that they pull out of a hat. And for the Fusion, who are still in the Stage 3 playoff run-in, albeit, they're one of 3 teams that do need help in order to get in. Like, it makes me very cautious about the Fusion this week.
Yeah, you have to be cautious about the Fusion all the time. You really do. Like... Mm-hmm. They're the epitome of playing down to whoever they're playing. And the team seems in disarray. Now, they played better last week because they were able to actually play. When you saw them on stage playing Goats, they looked defeated and pissed that they were actually playing Goats, which I completely understand. But they switched. They did well. Hopefully they turn things around. This is a really shitty homestand.
I want to ask this to Twitch chat really quick for the people that are here. Do you guys feel like there is any match out of the 8 listed that you would consider to be must-see?
I have one.
and
Okay.
that is purely for playoff reasoning, and
Mhm.
that is Shanghai versus Fusion.
Right.
That is the only match that actually matters. Because, like, you look at it, you have, all right, so you have the Mayhem Justice, Defiant, Reign, Charge. That's 5 of the bottom 6 teams in the league.
Mhm.
Like, ooh, that's bad. You have one playoff team. Like, it would have been smart if they would have switched it up. And I know they're not gonna. This schedule was determined a long time ago.
Right.
Like, so you don't know what's actually happening. Is Atlanta versus New York would have been a great matchup. No matter how bad Atlanta is playing, it would have been a story because Atlanta, for lack of better terminology, has dominated the New York Excelsior.
Yeah, and that's their only NYXL losses
Yeah.
in the regular season.
Yeah, so like Atlanta and New York should be playing each other in the game of the week. But this league is not set up for them to switch matchups like that.
Mhm.
Which I can honestly see changing coming next season. Because there's no reason that they should be announcing who plays who in stage 4 months beforehand. Like before season 3 begins, why announce who's playing in stage 4? No one cares.
The other thing too is it's like really weird to have a homestand without the home team closing things out. Like, cause they played the third match in both days, which is kind of weird to me. You would feel like they would be the perceived main event, so to speak.
Well, the thing is that would be essentially like the prime time
Mm-hmm.
of it, you know, because so all these times listed are on actual times. So yeah, they play at 3 o'clock and 3:45 Central Time, 2 and 2:45 Eastern, which we all know won't be the actual times they actually play. But yeah, that does seem weird. But
Like even
It's
if it
just-
was just one of the games, you know.
yeah, I would like to see them. Are these matches earlier than normal?
Yeah, that's true for all of the homestands.
Okay, because I was just like, I remember like on Saturday the matches would go until 8:30, 8:45 at night.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It will be fun. Just crap matches.
So looking at Twitch chat in regards to the question I asked, looks like the two that are being named are Charged Dragons and the Fusion versus Dragons.
First off, let me say something about the chat. Spider. Yes, we are still going.
We also started late.
We started a little late, but I have a lot to talk about, so shut up. So yeah, no, Alcus put it right. Ed is here. We could go till dawn. We could go till dawn. I don't have to work tomorrow. It's a holiday.
Yeah, they'll be cool enough in my room by then.
Yes, exactly.
Uh,
But we got a couple of matches. You know, Trenchfoot said, you know, Charge versus Shanghai could be a fun match, and Ulicus said, you know, Atlanta versus Mayhem. Oh, sorry, no, Ulicus put why I don't get why that's not the last match, because it's gonna be a blowout. It is. It's gonna be a blowout. You want to? What is the last match of the whole thing?
it's New York versus Toronto.
Oh yeah, wait, that's gonna be a blowout too. Never mind.
I mean, realistically, they should have just been like, F it, we'll put Mangachu versus the Fran on last. That's like their pay-per-view main event is the Torb Hammer 1v1.
Yeah, like, is it going last, or have they announced?
No,
when it will
no,
be
it's
played?
like they're in one of the breaks, just like the other stuff.
Probably during the break in one of the Atlanta matches, I would assume, except for the Baby Bay versus Brittle Maker.
Mm-hmm.
That will go on during a different one.
All right. So with that being said, Ed, I want to get your score predictions for the 1v1s.
Okay. 1v1s. Bren will lose 7-1. He'll get 1 kill.
That's very generous.
And it will be pure luck that he gets it. The other one's way more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
I see that being like 7-6. I'm assuming it will be 1st to 7.
Mm-hmm. Which,
So,
I mean, honestly, in that one, I'd just be like, why?
yeah, it should be 1st to 5, but they'll probably do 1st to 7. So, regardless, I think Mangachu wins 7-6. I think Dafran loses because Mangachu. It's Mangachu.
Mm-hmm.
He's known for the Torb Hammer, you know. And if someone on the broadcast does not reference, this will be counted week 4 of Kurt bringing up, or Ednar bringing up GoldenEye. If somebody does not reference it as slappers only, I will be pissed. Because it is slappers only Overwatch style.
Mm-hmm. As for myself, like, if Bren gets a kill, I am never going to stop shit-talking Baby Bay. Like, it's just gonna be one of those things.
No, if he gets 2 kills, Baby Bay is droppable. By any team.
Yeah.
Like, for
Just
shame.
don't come back.
Yeah, you should not be allowed in the Overwatch League if Bren gets 2 kills on you. If you get more kills on you than Gushue did against him,
Mm-hmm.
just retire on the spot.
I think in that case, the friend has to hit him with an actual hammer.
Loser has to, like, Baby Bay would have to wear Bren's Widowmaker outfit on stage for his next game.
Oof.
As punishment. I feel there should be side bets here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the real question. Will they allow, like, in the Widowmaker 1v1, will they allow people to be behind them, cheering them on? And if so, will anyone be on the side of Bren? I think if anyone is, Zoe will. But purely out of pity.
Or
Because
Dogman will do it just to troll.
Yeah, Dogman. Like, all the Atlanta Reign players will be on the side of Bren
Mm-hmm.
to screw with Baby Bay.
Mm-hmm.
That I could see.
Let's see it. Okay, so with that being said, of course, make sure you join our listener league for Sunday. FantasyOWL.com. Do it. Register, get signed up, see if you can beat Ed and I. All that good stuff. But we'll see whether or not this homestand is going to be better than what we are anticipating. But, not expecting any sort of movement in regards to the playoffs outside of, what the seed-in is going to be. But I would not be surprised if NYXL secures that top slot, because these are 2 very winnable matches for them. We'll see if the Reign are going to be able to, I don't want to say, like, level up in front of their home crowd, especially with the schedule that they have. But the home teams have seemed to play better when they are at home. And we'll see what comes from that. So, hope everyone enjoys the games this weekend. Hope everyone has a safe 4th of July, just because that is coming up here tomorrow, when this episode is set to release. But with that being said, guys, we are going to close out the show for tonight. So if you guys want to help us out, one of the best things to do is to leave us a review over on iTunes. We're always looking for insight on how we can make for a better listening experience for you. We also have a content hub to find Overwatch stuff. So you're going to find Overwatch Podcasts, Overwatch League, Fantasy Overwatch League, Path to Pro, all that good stuff on our website. And then every Sunday night, I release a weekly recall with basically all the prior podcast episodes from that past week on our Twitter at OW Recall. Now, if you would like to support our podcast, or just, our podcast network as a whole, we have a few things that you can do. If you watch our live shows, you can always throw us your Twitch Prime subs, and then you could, unlock our network emoticon. And, if you don't want to do that, if you want to throw actual money at us, that's good too. We do have a Patreon page, and we have tiers starting at just $1 a month. So you can find more information on that at patreon.com/OWL Network. So you too can join the likes of our Master and Above patrons, Blazing Bob, Brandon, Josabal, and Owl in helping our network grow. But with that being said, Ed, of course, we do have a number of different ways how our listeners can get a hold of us. So why don't you let them know how they can do that?
All right. So you can reach us through email at hndoverwatch@gmail.com. We are on Twitter. You can follow us over there at hndoverwatch. We do have our website where we post all of our stuff, including all our podcasts, our power rankings. When Spider decides he's going to put together a YouTube, because I'm going to throw Spider under the bus because he was an a-hole to me in Twitch chat.
Well, Spider's not been the one doing that.
Oh, well, I'm still throwing Spider under the bus. You can find all of that over on owlandshow.com. We do have YouTube, and that's youtube.com/Overwatch League Network. So go over there, see all our videos posted there as well. You can join us on Discord, where we talk a lot during the games and all that fun stuff at discord.me/OWLNshow. We are streaming presently live on Twitch at twitch.tv/OWLNshow. So we are a Twitch affiliate, so help support the show by subscribing to our channel and earn our network emoticon. Our podcast does stream pretty regularly. So on Mondays at 7 p.m. Pacific, you have the Overwatch League Network with Totem and Spider, the trader. And on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, you have OWL by the Numbers, which is our fantasy podcast. This show, Heroes Never Die, airs Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific. And then host streams, when available, run on a flex schedule. So be sure to follow us to be notified when we go live, especially on our Discord and whatnot. As Totem said, you can always join us over on patreon.com/OWL Network and help support the show even further. You can reach me personally on Twitter at @AdinarOverwatch. And Totem, where can they find you?
Well, I am over on Twitter at TumblyDrunkCTR, and Spider is challenging you to a 1v1 Torp Hammer duel, so there is that as well. But, of course, guys...
Slappers only. Slappers only. You cannot call it... It is no longer Torb Hammer. It is Slappers only Overwatch Edition.
There we go. But with that being said, guys, I want to thank you again for hanging out with us tonight on another episode of Heroes Never Die. This has been episode number 167. I have been your host, Tumbly Drunk, joined, as always, by my co-host, Edinar. Have a safe holiday, and we'll see you guys back next week for our next episode. Take care, and have a good night.
One.